Alright students, today we'll talk about the public and private sector of the economy because last time we discussed the effect of industrialization on the economy as a whole, right? Now, so public and private sector of the economy, um, I want students to answer that because business students they are quite familiar with that. So let me ask them. Daud Ehsan. Sufyan, mute your mic. Yes. Daud Ehsan, can you answer? What is the public sector of the economy? Daud Ehsan, are you there? Daud or Farhan? Can
Sir,
you?
this is owned and
Yeah.
controlled by the government, public sector.
Public sector is owned and controlled by the government, but what is it? Is it something which is physical?
Sir, it provides services um, to the people who are living in the country.
Okay, all right. Okay, Farhan, tell me why you are not that regular.
Sir, I am regular.
Okay, now yes, if I see your previous attendance in previous classes, yes, it's okay. Okay, you started late, I guess. Okay, so public sector includes all resources and organizations. I'm using the word resources and organizations, which are under the ownership and control of the government. It means government owns it, all resources and organization, and they are under the control of the government as well. The government takes decision what to do. And obviously, you know that government always works for the public welfare, for the benefit of the people living in the country. So Farhan is right in that context. So when we say private sector of the economy, Umar, what does it mean?
So that the resources are owned by private individuals.
Resources are owned by private, okay, resources and organizations which are owned and controlled by private people, private individuals. That's right. So in public sector, the main objective is to provide benefit to the people in the country or to increase the public welfare. And what is the objective of private sector of the economy, Umar?
So profit, maximize
Profit.
profit.
Yeah, maximizing their profit. Why? Because they want to make their owners happy, and that is why they invest. Their purpose is not public welfare. They will only provide goods and services to people if they are able to pay for it. Because if they start selling goods and services to those people also who are not able to afford them or who pay a lower price than what they charge, then profit cannot be earned. So they will never be able to achieve their objective. Alright, so now you understand this. Now, so public and private sector, there is a difference there, and now we know about it.
Sir,
How they are. Yes, please. Yes,
sir,
Ahmed.
sorry to interrupt you. So you have not shared the notes for this one.
Of chapter 2? Yes, 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 yes. That's right. I'll share it today, inshallah. Okay, let's discuss first those organizations which are in the private sector. We'll talk about them. There are different types of them. So, first is sole trader. Now, it's quite easy, and students who opted for business in O levels they are quite familiar with it. Like Daud is there, Farhan is there, Umar is there. but for other students, it's a new concept. So, sole trader. Farhan, what is it? Who is
So the business which is owned by only one person.
all right? Now, if you thank you very much. Now, sole means one, and trader means a person who is involved in buying and selling of goods. We call that person a trader because it has come from the word trade. Trade means buying and selling of goods and services. So trader is a person who is involved in buying and selling of goods and services. So sole trader means that there is a single person who runs a business, and obviously when we say that person is running a business, so obviously he is involved in buying raw material and selling finished products after converting raw material into final product. So that is why we call it sole trader. Now, just see the features of sole trader. Single owner, you understand this. Oldest form of business. So, business started from this form, and the reason is because it is easier to set up. You do not need to take permission from others. If you have the money, you have the ability, you can start your business. Now think about opening a small shop in a nearby area. You just have to uh, take that shop which is available on rent. You can put goods in that, right? And you can start your business. You can start selling goods to people. So it's easy, and that is why it is the oldest form of business. Now, another term, unincorporated business. Again, let me ask somebody, Umar. Okay, um, anyone who actually opted for business in O levels other than Farhan, Daud, and Umar? Please tell me. No one? You all were science students in O levels? Ahmed, Numan, Faizan, Hassan Bhatt, Hussein, Bilal,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Sufyan and Zaim.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. It's fine, no problem. So, okay, Daud, what is an unincorporated business? Daud, are you there? Can you hear me? I think Daud has a problem with the mic. Yes, Farhan?
So that the business is not having cooperation with any other.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much for your participation. I'll comment on that later. Farhan,
Sir, the business doesn't has its separate legal identity.
okay, all right. Separate legal identity. Okay, let me show it to you. Okay, this is right, Farhan. But again, you have used a technical term. So, when we say that business is unincorporated, let me write it there. Unincorporated. Whenever we say this, it means, remember, that business has separate legal entity, separate legal entity, or you can say separate legal existence. That is also possible. Now, what does it mean? It means that now business is different from the owner. That is why we call it. It means business has its own legal existence. Is it right, Umar?
Yes, sir.
It's wrong. Why you are saying that?
Yes, sir. Business and the owner are the same.
So that okay, that is why I asked this question from you.
Oh,
So
sorry,
please
sir.
focus. Unincorporated business means that there is no separate legal existence. It means that owner and business are the same. Okay, if business suffers loss, it means owner is suffering loss. Okay, so there is no difference at all. Whatever is owned by business is actually owned by the owner as well. So there is no difference between the owner and the business. Let me write this as well. This means whenever a business is unincorporated, it means that business does not have separate legal entity or existence. And that means owner and business are the same. There is no difference. Okay. So if business is responsible to pay a certain amount to a certain person, for example, the business has bought raw material from a supplier and now business is not able to pay. So obviously, who is going to pay? The owner, because there is no difference between the business and the owner. Owner cannot simply say, manager bought it, so please ask him. I am not responsible. Owner cannot say that. Why? Because of the same feature I just mentioned, and that is the business is unincorporated, right? And because of that reason, owner and business are the same. So whatever is owned by the business is under the ownership of the owner, or whatever is yet to be paid by the business in the form of a payment, for example, is the responsibility of the owner to pay it back. I hope everybody is clear, especially science students. Zaim, now you understand what is an unincorporated business?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So, sole trader is having a feature of unincorporated business. Okay, now we are just talking about the features right now. Then we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages as well. Then comes unlimited liability. Now, Umar, what is it? What is an unlimited liability?
That yes, sir. Unlimited liability means that the owner of the business is not limited to the amount he has invested in the business.
Okay, so can you clarify a bit more?
कि सर अगर कल बिजनेस डूब जाता है तो ओनर के सारे पर्सनल एसेट्स बिकेंगे ताकि वो to clear the debt.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Now, remember, unlimited liability is a feature of a business which is unincorporated. Do remember that. So, the feature of unlimited liability is always there in a business if that business is unincorporated. And why? What is the reason? And what does it mean? He just explained. Because if we define unlimited liability, we define it that way. If business suffers loss and is unable to pay, then the owner has to pay it even by selling his or her own personal assets, right? So, and why? Because I told you that when a business is unincorporated, owner and business are the same. So, for example, if the owner has invested $50,000 in a business, just take an example. If the owner has invested $50,000, okay, let me write this as well. Investment is $50,000, okay, by the owner. but this is a this is the investment done by the owner. But the loss which occurred afterwards, that was $80,000, right? So the business will only be pay up to $50,000 because that is the total amount which is there in the business and which was invested by the owner. But now $30,000 more is required. Now the owner cannot say that okay, now if business is unable to pay, what can I do for you? Because the owner has unlimited liability. And why it has unlimited liability? Because of the feature of unincorporated business. So now what will happen? If this is the loss, then obviously $30,000 will be paid by the owner himself. Okay, doesn't matter whether owner will sell his or her own property or uh, use his own cash from the from his or her own personal account. Whatever the owner does, the owner has to pay it back. And that is why it's a very dangerous form of organization as well. Because only that money will not be lost which was invested in the business. The money which was kept aside for the personal use of the owner, that will also be used to pay back the amount which is required in case of loss or in case of financial constraints. So, Sufyan, is that clear to you? The term unlimited liability? Sufyan?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, all right. Okay, let's move on. So, we have talked about four main features of a sole trader business. Now, let's move on to advantages of sole trader. So, one of the advantages is few legal regulations to set up a business. Now, my question is,
Sir, I have a question.
yes, Hussain, please.
Sir, I was asking that in this unincorporated business, sir, it is just being the business is just being done by the owner, or he has some workers. He has some workers with him as well, like some investors and some employees, or he does all of his work alone in
All
a
right. And
non-incorporated business.
okay, I got your point. Hussain, yes, you have asked a good question. Okay, just mute your mic because there is a lot of distortion. Thank you. Okay, so yes, it's a good question, Hussain, and thank you very much for asking it. In fact, sole trader is a business where there is one owner. There can be many workers working there, but the owner can work alone as well. Like for example, you own a shop, okay, and you manage that shop on your own, and there is no worker. It's a sole trader business, but you can hire a worker or two, right, to attend customers or to clean the shop. So it's up to you, or even you can hire a manager as well who will be managing your shop, and you will be staying at home or doing something else. So yes, a sole trader business means that owner will be one, but workers, employees, and managers can be part of that business, which will be helping the owner to run the business. So, Hussain, I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. Now, first advantage is few legal regulations to set up a business. Now, what does it mean? It means whenever you start a business, the government requires certain documents to be submitted. Okay, and for that you need to collect those documents, and then you submit it to the government officials, and after that they register your business, and you can start your own business then. So there are regulations there. Some laws are there whether you can start the business there or not. For example, you cannot start your own business in a residential area because it is not allowed. It is against the rules and regulations. There are commercial areas beside residential areas, or within that residential area, you know that small markets. So you can run your business over there by hiring a shop or by constructing a building if you own the land. So, but for sole trader businesses, there are fewer regulations. Now, my question is why there are fewer legal regulations for sole trader and what is the advantage of it? That is my question. So, other than Farhan, Umar, and Daud, anyone who can answer that? I repeat my question. My question is sole trader, in case of sole trader business, there are few legal regulations from government side. Why it is so? And what is the advantage of it? Because after all, you will be required to develop your point. You cannot simply write this point to get full marks. Yes.
Sir, it is at a smaller scale.
All right. Very good, Fazan. Thank you very much. Because it is operating at a small scale, so it is less likely to damage the environment. It is less likely to disturb the traffic or the community. So that is why, because the negative impact is less as compared to larger businesses, that is why government allows them to run their own business if they fulfill fewer regulations as well. So that's right. And you know that sole trader businesses are normally small. Why? Because there is only one owner and it's not possible for the owner to generate a huge amount of money to run a very large business. Okay, that is one uh, thing which I got the answer for. Now, second is how it is an advantage. Why fewer regulations are there if there is a sole trader business? Now we understand that. Now, the next question is regarding this point why or how it is an advantage to a sole trader. Anyone who wants to answer?
I guess
Yes.
it is because in this sole trader business, sir, we have less workers, so the profit that would be generated would be more that would be taken by the owner, and he would pay less to the workers, or more profit can be generated if more money is being earned. So the owner can take more profit.
Okay, Hussein,
Okay.
can you tell me how business will be able to earn more profit if there are fewer legal regulations? How is it linked with that? Hussein, Hussein, are you there? Okay, anyone else who wants to contribute?
So they will not have to pay to register their business.
Okay, all right. No, okay, yeah, that's right. Now, that is a good point that if you if there are more legal regulations, you have to submit more documents. And obviously, it requires cost. It involves cost, in fact, right? Secondly, when there are more legal regulations, then it means you cannot start your business quickly. It will take time. Okay? So it means once you have invested money, you cannot get back in the form of profit quickly because to start your business you have to follow certain legal requirements. So but in case of sole trader, because the legal regulations or requirements are very few, so that is why sole trader is very quick to start the business. So that is why it is an advantage to such a business, because for larger businesses it may take months to start their business, but for a sole trader they may start within a couple of weeks. All right, now let's move on to the second advantage, that is motivation to work hard as owner enjoys all the profit. Now, point is understandable, but again, in A levels, you are required to develop your points well. Otherwise, you won't get marks. So, Hamza bin Farooq. Hamza, can you tell me, can you develop this point? Point number two.
So, if there were multiple owners, the then the profit would have to be split between all of them. But since there's only one, then he gets all the profit. So he's motivated to make sure his business runs smoothly, so he can earn money.
Very good. Hamza Farooq, thank you very much. You actually got a perfect answer. So, owner will be motivated, extremely happy, right? And will put all his or her effort because he or she knows that whatever will be earned will only be enjoyed by himself or herself. And there is no other person who will be sharing it. So it means more focus will be there on business and business might be performing well because owner is very active, okay, owner is very enthusiastic and owner is always there to attend customers. So in that way, the owner might win the hearts of certain customers because of that reason. And that could be one of the reason of business success. Point number three, third advantage, secrecy. Okay, anyone who wants to contribute? What is secrecy and how it is an advantage?
Sir, all financial data is kept private.
All right, very good. So what is the advantage in it? Bilal, what is the advantage?
Sir, less regulations.
No, we have covered that in point number one.
Sir, no idea.
Okay, oh, no problem, no problem. Okay. Anyone else? Anybody who wants to say something? Farhan? Farhan, are you there?
No, sir.
All right. So now secrecy means that now whatever is going on within the business, that information is only with the owner, right? So it means that owner does not need to share it with anybody. Okay. Now, what is the problem when you share it? For example, a business is not being run well. Okay. So if information is leaked out, obviously it will have an impression on workers, customers, and banks as well, right? So if information is leaked out, customers won't buy because they may feel business is not running well, so they might reduce their quality or they might not serve us properly, right? Similarly, workers may start leaving jobs because they start thinking that sooner or later we'll lose our job because the business is in financial crisis or is not being managed well, right? Similarly, banks hesitate to lend money to such businesses or will demand, if, for example, already loan has been taken from the bank, so the bank may start demanding their money back all of a sudden. So, because of this, obviously the owner will have to face a very tough time. Okay, so owner can face that financial crisis. Okay, maybe within months, owner will be able to put the business back on track. But the problem is workers, customers, and banks, they will not help the owner in that regard. And eventually, business will close down because of the same reason. Because of, if customers are not buying, workers are not ready to work, and banks are demanding their money back. So now, owner will not be able to face that financial crisis, will not be able to bear it, and eventually, the owner has to close down his business. So, in case of sole trader, because information is only known to the owner of the business, so that is why there are very few chances that it will be leaked out, almost none. So that is why the owner can feel comfortable that whatever is happening within the business, only he or she knows about it, and they will recover from that situation. For example, you know that tough time is experienced by every business, doesn't matter whether it is a large business or a small business, right? But if other people are not aware of it, it will be easier for the owner to get out of it, maybe after a month or maybe after a few months. But if it is leaked out, you know that what will happen. I just explained it to you. So that is why this is an advantage to a sole trader. Okay, any question from you guys regarding the development of this third advantage? Any issue? No issues. All right. So let's move on to the next advantage. Satisfaction by having a close contact with customers. Now I want the development of this point because I'm telling you in A levels, development is extremely important. If you write this point at the maximum, you will get 1 mark. Okay, I demonstrated that to you as well. Yes, Fazan.
Sir, if the business is at larger scale, the managers and the salesman will be communicating with the customers, so the owner may not be satisfied. And in the sole trader, the owner would be dealing with customers by himself.
All right. So who will be satisfied?
Sir, the owner and the customer both.
All right. All right. Yes. Thank you very much. You are right, Fazan. Now, if the scale of the business is small, and it means business has to deal fewer customers. So owner can deal every single customer himself or herself. This will satisfy the customer as well. Why? Because customers will realize that owner is there to listen to their complaints or their whatever issues they have. So in that way, owner, because you it happens generally because sometimes, for example, you go to a restaurant and you have a problem. Okay, maybe food is not served or maybe the quality of the food is poor. Okay, so you can make a lot of noise over there, but if you say who is the owner, so owner might not be there. At the maximum, the hotel manager will come to talk to you, but it will not make you satisfied. But if the owner comes, imagine that, and says, "Sir, my apology to you. Next time it won't happen." Right? So obviously, this will give greater satisfaction to customers. Similarly, if owner always meets and greets customers and calls them by their name, so again, the customers will feel more important. That owner knows us. They know our requirement. Think about a barber, a hairdresser. You go to a hairdresser and normally you must have, or maybe in the past as well, must have gone to a barber, again, the same barber again and again, right? And in the future, you would also like to go to the same hairdresser. Reason is because now the hairdresser knows you very well and knows you what are your requirements as far as hair cutting is concerned. Okay, so the owner is there, right? So in that way, customers get greater satisfaction. That owner is there to listen to us, and he is the man whose decision is the final one. Because if manager keeps on saying we won't do it again or we'll rectify it, you might not be satisfied because you know that manager is not the person who will take the last decision. Maybe the owner won't take it. So in a sole trader, because owner is there as well, so it is an advantage for a sole trader, and in that way, the customers will be loyal to the business and they would like to go to visit that place again and again. As I gave you the example of a hairdresser. And in the same way, owner will also be satisfied. Why? Because now owner knows that owner deals every single customer. So they the owner tries to keep every single customer satisfied. So satisfaction is there for the owner as well and for the customers as well. Owner will be satisfied that all customers they are happy, and customers will be satisfied that we are being listened and we are important to that business, right? And we are given the protocol we require. Okay, and you know that sometimes it happens and you visit a shop And sometimes they say that, oh Sheikh Sahab, aiye, oh chote le aavi botal. So this is normally, these are the sentences which are used by the shop owners because they know the customer very well and they want that customer to feel important in that shop or in that place. This is the way to win the hearts of the customers. So that is again a great advantage in case of a sole trader, which is not there in other types of businesses. Okay, next advantage is better able to satisfy customers as owner is closer to customers. So you can say more or less both points are quite similar, but you can develop them differently as well, right? Because the point number 4 is close contact. So owner will be happy that every single customer will be entertained by the owner. So it means that there is no risk involved in the business. All customers are happy, right? And the fifth point is about the customers. So I explained both of them, right? I told you satisfaction, which is received by the owner and by the customer. So both points are linked with that. Now, last point, that is freedom. Now, what kind of freedom and how it is an advantage? So, anyone who wants to contribute, or should I ask? All right. Daud, is your mic okay now or not? I think Daud is having a problem. He just texted me about that. All right. Hamza bin Farouk, please go ahead.
Sir, we would have freedom as the business owner would have freedom as if there would be no one else telling him what to do. For example, a partner owner telling him to pull his weight in the business, as he'd be completely in control of everything that goes. He wouldn't have to share his ownership with anyone.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, freedom here means freedom to take decisions, freedom to decide about the holidays because there is only one person, so nobody is there to instruct him or her. So if whatever decision, doesn't matter whether the decision goes right or wrong, no problem, but it's the owner who will take that decision. Owner does not need to consult anybody. If the owner wants to consult somebody, it's fine, but it is not a compulsion. Owner is not bound to consult anybody. So decision can be taken easily by the owner if owner feels that this is the right decision. And secondly, owner can decide about the holidays on his or her on her own. For example, if owner is busy somewhere or the owner is having family commitments, so owner can take the day off and can say to the workers or the manager, I cannot come today, so please handle the business. And nobody is there to ask him that, sir, why you are not there? Why didn't you come yesterday? So these sorts of questions will not be answered by the owner. So it will actually give more satisfaction and to the owner, and owner will feel more comfortable. That is why, that is the only reason that businesses are preferred over uh, employment. There are other businesses as well, but in case of sole trader business, because you are your own boss, you are your own boss. There is no other person to whom you have to take permission. But in other types of businesses, there is such problem. There are other owners as well. Here, in that case, there is none other than you. So that is why the owner feels very comfortable and takes interest in the business. Why? Because whenever owner is busy, owner can take the day off, right? Okay. Then the disadvantages of sole trader. Unlimited liability. So we discussed that is a disadvantage of a sole trader business. And Bilal Jamil, what is an unlimited liability? I just explained earlier. Bilal.
Sir,
Large,
the owner is liable for all the loss that is taken by the business.
yeah, that's right. So it means that not only the money which has been invested in the business will be taken away, but the personal assets of the owner that will also be sold or taken away to pay the amount which the business is required to pay or to cover that loss. So that is a huge disadvantage for a sole trader. And that is why sole trader businesses, they have a very short life. And you might have observed that as well. Many businesses or people, they open up shops in nearby residential areas, and after a few months they close it down. And that is because of the same reason, that a business, they are not able to run the business well, they cannot survive there for a longer time period. Why? Because they have to bear all expenses and losses as well, and sometimes they are not able to do it. Okay, next disadvantage is no one to share ideas or discuss the matter. Okay, now, so we discussed that is an advantage as well. So it becomes a disadvantage as well, right? Why? Because sometimes the decision is very tough to take, or is a very complicated one, or you require someone to give you advice. So in that case, there will be no one who will be giving you the advice. As you say, the two are better than one, right? Two heads are better than one. So because there is only one owner, so there could be a problem and a wrong decision can be taken, which can affect the or damage the business heavily. Okay. Then all responsibility on his shoulders again. Yes, owners can take the days off. I told you earlier that is an advantage, but at the same time, if owner take the day off, yes, there can be a manager or the workers, but still there will be no other owner who will take that responsibility. An owner will not be able to know what the workers are doing there on that day or the manager is doing if the manager is there. Normally sole trader businesses, they do not hire managers, they might have workers, but they manage the business on their own, right? Otherwise they have to pay a salary to the manager as well, it will be expensive, and sole traders do not have sufficient amount of finance to do it. So that will be an, so all responsibility on his shoulders means, so there will be a lot of stress, fear and uncertainty, because you know that anything can happen whenever a decision is taken. Now, so workers will not be responsible if loss is suffered by the business. So that is why sometimes the business owner um, has problems as well. For example, problem of blood pressure, sugar, heart disease. Why? Because so much stress is there, tension is there. So gradually, with the passage of time, if the environment remains the same, the owner of the business gets health issues as well. Then lack of capital, you know that. So because there is only one owner who is there to invest money in the business. And secondly, banks hesitate to lend money to sole trader businesses. Why? Because they know that it's a small business. Only one person is there to pay it back. Okay. So if that person runs away or is unable to pay, who is able to pay then? So that is the problem. Like for example, if the bank tries to recover it from the business, the amount is not enough. They sell all the property of the owner, still it is not recoverable, the whole amount I'm talking about. So obviously there's a problem. So that is why banks do not lend money to smaller businesses. In fact, they hesitate because of the same reason. So that is why sole trader businesses always have a very small amount of capital. So they can only operate on a smaller scale. Even if they want to increase their scale of production, it is not possible. Then we have business comes to an end if owner dies. Again, you know that. Why I told you? Because of the same characteristic, that is unincorporated business. Because owner and business are the same, so when owner dies, business comes to an end. There is no other person who can handle that business, right? So that is why sole trader businesses are have a short life as well. Then difficult to raise finance. I told you. So now, how it is different from lack of capital and difficult to raise finance? Under lack of capital, you can write there is only one owner. So it's not easy to generate huge amount of capital for the business, right? But for difficult to raise finance, you can talk about banks or financial institutions. The banks won't lend money to them. Okay, one more thing why banks do not lend money. It's not only about the business is small or they might not be able to pay it back. The risk is involved. Another thing is banks always want a security to be submitted. For example, a property or a house, so that if business is unable to pay, they will sell that property to recover their amount. But because sole trader businesses cannot offer such security, so that is also the reason banks do not lend money to them and they find it difficult to raise finance. Then we have cannot enjoy economies of scale. Now we have not talked about economies of scale. This is a concept uh, which actually requires detailed explanation, but I'll give you one example. But before I explain that, I want somebody to answer that. Um, Hamza, you are there. Can you answer? Hamza bin Farouk. Hamza, are you there?
Sorry, sir. I'm I'm having some internet issues. Could you repeat the question for a second?
See the last point. Just explain it.
Uh, economies of scale is basically bigger the business is basically the expenses of a business getting lower as it expands. A sole
Or
trader would have trouble expanding since a one person has limited capital to buy for their expansions, for buying new business, new areas for their
all
branches,
right. So
or
that is
taking
why
over.
that is why economy of scale cannot be enjoyed, right? Okay, thank you very much, Hamza. Now, although we'll discuss that concept in the later chapters of the book, but right now I will still explain that. Although Hamza explained it well, economies of scale are those advantages which help the business to reduce their cost. In particular, average cost, that is cost of producing one product. How it is done? When business expands, right? For example, business is opening up various branches. Now they will buy in bulk, right? So that they can supply it to all those branches. So when they will buy in bulk, obviously supplier usually offers them a discount. We call that trade discount because they are buying in bulk. And that is why they get the goods cheaply. And this will help the business to reduce its average cost. And that is what we call economies of scale. But for a sole trader, it's not possible because sole trader operates at a small scale and they order small quantities. They do not buy in bulk. In fact, they cannot buy in bulk because they do not have the money. They do not have such large number of customers to whom they can sell such a large amount of goods. So that is why they cannot get the discount from the supplier and their average cost may not go down so low compared to other larger businesses. Okay, any question regarding any of the disadvantage I explained? Daoud, Faizan, Hamza, Bilal, Sufyan, Zain. Is it okay?
Sir, the
Yes, sir.
last
Clear.
point I didn't
Yes.
understand.
All right. So others can leave. Okay, Sufyan, you can stay there. I can explain it to you. The others
Okay.
can leave if they are clear about it.